Artist Detective, where we investigate the lives and art of renowned artists like me. I am Rembrandt van Rijn, the well-known, or shall we say, world-renowned painter, who is known as a Dutch master from the 1600s. Today, I would like to introduce you to another artist who, like me, is from Holland or is Dutch. Unlike me, he was not well known during his lifetime, but his art became acclaimed years after his death. You will surely recognize him and his art. Welcome, Vincent van Gogh.
Hello, my name is Vincent van Gogh. I am a post-impressionistic painter, known for my thick textures, bright colors, and visible brushstrokes. I was born in Rococo, Holland, which you now call the Netherlands.
Yes, I already told them you are Dutch, like me, Rembrandt.
My father was a pastor of a Dutch Reformed church, and I learned the Bible growing up. But even from my youth, I was often depressed, and I suffered from a mood disorder. I did not study art formally while growing up, and by age 16 I went to become an art dealer in The Hague, a city in the south of Holland where my uncles were art dealers. I transferred to London and to Paris, but eventually I decided I should become a pastor like my father. I then went to Belgium, where I studied to be a minister, and I was a missionary to the poor coal miners. I even gave everything I had to those I was ministering to, and I lived in poverty like them. I often drew the miners and their families, and my first paintings and drawings were in browns and blacks. My mood disorders did not get better, and I decided I wanted to serve God as an artist instead of a minister. So I took up art at the age of 27. To try to understand the real significance of what the great artists, the serious masters, tell us in their masterpieces that leads to gold. One man wrote or told it in a book, another in a picture.
I, Fra Angelico, the Italian Renaissance artist who was a friar or monk, also wanted my paintings to glorify God.
My first introduction to studying art was in the school of The Hague, which tended toward realism and painting outdoors in the light. They liked to paint landscapes, and so I painted them too.
Though I am known for my portraits, I, Thomas Gainsborough, from the 1700s in England, loved to paint landscapes. Did they think this was new?
I spent time in Noonan with my family, and I drew the peasants, the everyday people, using dark colors like this painting, The Potato Eaters. Then I moved to Paris, the art capital of the world in the late 1800s, where my brother Theo lived. Impressionism was the big movement in art then.
The critics called our art Impressionism because they thought that they seemed more like sketches than finished paintings. I, Claude Monet, like to paint in plein air or in the open air and use quick brush strokes. You might have seen my many water lily paintings. I, Edgar Degas, am considered an impressionist, but I like to paint ballet dancers and scenes from the theater, not outdoor scenes.
I, Bertha Morisot, am also an impressionist who brings a woman's touch with my intimate scenes of domestic life.
I liked the colors and the shimmering effect of light of the Impressionists, and that they painted what they saw with their eyes. Then one day I came across some Japanese woodblock prints, which had bright, bold colors. Suddenly, I wanted to paint with bright, bold colors and thick outlines. I loved using lots of paint and making thick textures too.
Thick outlines and bright colors. If you used less texture and made flat, smooth strokes and bendy dots, you might be able to make paintings of comics and everyday objects like Roy Lichtenstein, who started the pop art movement in the 1950s.
I began experimenting with making self-portraits, since I was not very good at interacting with people. I made 35 self-portraits. You can see from my self-portraits that I was not usually happy.
I too like to make self-portraits.
Your self-portraits inspire me, Norman Rockwell. And don't worry, Vincent, you weren't the only artist who was unhappy. My humorous scenes of everyday American life helped lift some of my moods, and I too had counseling. I decided to move to Arles because I wanted to be back in the countryside. The light and the sunshine were amazing. Yellow became my favorite color, and I enjoyed painting sunflowers. I also wanted to paint the night sky, so I created a contraption using a wide-brimmed hat on which I placed candles so I could see my canvas. Here is my painting, The Starry Night, with its big stars and shimmering effects. I hoped to have a studio in the south where other artists could come and paint, and I wouldn't have to be alone. But no other artist wanted to join me until my brother, Theo, helped me to convince another painter, Paul Gauguin, to come. We learned a lot from each other, but unfortunately we did not get along. My mental illness did not help. One night, after we had an argument, I was so upset that I cut off part of my left ear. I even painted a self-portrait of myself with a bandaged ear. I had to go to an asylum for my mental illness. After a year, I moved to a town called Auvers-sur-Oise in northern France. I had a good doctor there who cared for me, but I continued to struggle with dark thoughts, which you can see in some of my paintings, like Wheat Field with Crows.
Sadly, one day his despair was too great, and he shot himself and died 2 days later. He is considered a post-impressionist artist along with Paul Cézanne and Paul Gauguin. His art influenced other artists in the Expressionist and Cubist movements. You can see his art at the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam and other great art institutions around the world. Isn't it funny how life works sometimes? Though he only sold one painting during his lifetime and was not famous or popular, his talent was recognized due to the work of Theo's wife and exhibitions. Van Gogh's paintings are a pillar of modern art, and owning a Van Gogh painting is highly valued. I guess he is almost as famous as me, Rembrandt.
So, let's review about me. Repeat after me. Vincent van Gogh.
Vincent van Gogh,
1853 to 1890.
1853 to 1890.
Post-impressionistic painter.
Post-impressionistic painter.
Thick textures.
Thick textures.
Visible brushstrokes.
Visible brushstrokes.
Bright colors.
Bright colors.
Thank you for joining us on The Artist Detective. We hope to see you next time when we investigate the lives and art of other great artists like me and Van Gogh. Who knows? You may be the next great artist. Remember that Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, God has made everything beautiful in its time. Until next time, Rembrandt and the Artist Detective.